Have you ever done this? New Year rolls around, and you write it down at the top of your journal. This is the year I actually get happy. You download the meditation app. You start a gratitude journal. You make a bucket list. But here's the strange part. The harder you chase it, the emptier you somehow feel. You laughed more today than yesterday, and yet you get home, turn off the lights, lie down in bed, and something feels hollow. Why is that? Here's the thing. You're not the only one who's felt this. An entire nation once proved this exact paradox on a massive scale. Think about the Declaration of Independence. It names 3 unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A country was built with happiness written directly into its founding document. And yet, if you check the World Happiness Report every year, the United States never even cracks the top 20. Meanwhile, small Nordic countries that never bothered making happiness a national slogan keep landing at the very top. So here's the question worth asking. Whether it's a person or a nation, why does wanting something that badly, even writing it into law, somehow push it further away? That's what we're digging into today. Why chasing happiness as a life goal can leave you feeling emptier, and what you should actually be reaching for instead. Let me be clear up front. This isn't an argument against wanting to be happy. It's the opposite. If you genuinely want more happiness in your life, this is exactly the video you need to watch to the end. Let me start with a confession. There was a stretch of time when the first thing I asked myself every morning was, am I happy today? I thought it was a healthy habit. Self-check-ins, right? But a few months in, something weird happened. The more I asked, the harder it got to answer. Yesterday was decent, but today feels off. This week felt worse than last week. I was basically running a daily audit on my own emotional state. And at some point I realized I was spending more energy grading my happiness than actually feeling it. Turns out I wasn't the only one doing this. Researchers have actually documented this exact pattern. Back in 2003, a team of American researchers surveyed people ahead of a New Year's Eve party. Before the party, they asked how much fun people expected to have. After the party, they asked how much fun people actually had. Here's what they found. The people who spent the night consciously monitoring their own enjoyment, constantly checking in on how happy they were in real time, ended up reporting lower satisfaction than everyone else. Same party, same people, completely different experience. Researchers gave this a name, the monitoring effect. Let me put it this way. You know that feeling when you're trying to fall asleep and you keep thinking, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. And the harder you try, the more awake you get? Sleep is one of those things that runs away the second you reach for it. It only comes when you stop trying and let your body relax. Happiness works the exact same way. It's like sand in your palm. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. This isn't some brand new discovery from modern psychology, by the way. 150 years ago, the philosopher John Stuart Mill made an observation that still holds up today the moment you turn around and interrogate your own happiness. Checking whether it's really there, you've already disturbed the thing you were looking for. It disappears the instant you go looking for it directly. Different century, different language, same exact human glitch. So if you've ever chased happiness and ended up exhausted instead, that's not because you're broken or doing life wrong. That's just how human beings are wired. Now, does that mean you should stop caring about happiness altogether? No, that's not it either. The real issue runs deeper. We've been mistaking happiness for a destination. In 1978, psychologist Philip Brickman and his colleagues published a study that's honestly still fascinating to think about. They interviewed 3 groups at the same times: lottery winners, people who had become paraplegic after accidents, and ordinary people from the same neighborhoods as a baselines. Common sense says the lottery winners should be thrilled and the accident survivors should be devastated, right? The results flipped that assumption completely. Given enough time, both groups had settled back to roughly the same everyday level of happiness as their neighbors. The lottery windfall wore off. The tragedy, unbearable as it was, also wore off. Life eventually resets people back to baseline. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. It's like your mind has a thermostat that keeps resetting itself no matter what happens to you. There's a related idea in economics called the Easterlin paradox. Once a country's income rises past a certain point, average happiness barely moves at all. Poverty makes people miserable, no argument there. But piling on more and more wealth past a certain threshold just doesn't buy proportionally more happiness. Here's the part that gets genuinely ironic. The more this research gets out there, the bigger the happiness industry grows worldwide. Meditation apps, wellness retreats, self-help books, productivity culture, hustle and heal, content, all of it combined has grown into one of the biggest industries in the world. And yet, at the very same time, the World Health Organization's data on anxiety and depression keeps climbing, not falling. So we've got the biggest happiness market in human history running alongside a population that seems more exhausted than ever. That's a strange picture, isn't it? Honestly, the first time I saw that statistic side by side, it gave me chills. Maybe we've been pouring enormous effort into completely the wrong direction. So here's the obvious question. If chasing happiness directly backfires and giving up on it isn't the answer either, then what exactly are we supposed to do? This is where it gets interesting. During World War II, there was a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps. His name was Viktor Frankl. You've probably encountered his book at some point, Man's Search for Meaning. It's one of those books that's been assigned in classrooms and book clubs across the country for decades, often cited as one of the most influential books in American life. Frankl lost his entire family in the camps and spent years staring death in the face daily. And out of that, he made an observation that has outlasted him by 80 years. He essentially said happiness cannot be pursued directly. It has to ensue. It's a side effect of something else, never a target you can walk straight toward. You've probably felt this yourself. Maybe you picked up a hobby, got so absorbed in it that you glanced at the clock and realized it was 2 in the morning. Maybe you started repotting a few plants on a Saturday afternoon and looked up to find the sun had already set. Maybe you told yourself just one episode and somehow ended up watching until sunrise. In those moments, you never once asked, "Am I happy right now?" There was no room for the question. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called this state flow, and his research found something consistent when people look back on their most fulfilling moments in life. They're almost never the moments they were actively trying to be happy. They're the moments they lost themselves completely in something else. There's a theory that adds another layer to this, developed by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, called self-determination theory. According to their research, real human fulfillment depends on 3 things being met. First, autonomy, feeling like you're the one choosing your own direction. Second, competence, feeling capable, like you're actually good at something you're doing. Third, relatedness, feeling genuinely connected to other people. Notice something. Nowhere on that list does it say, be happy. And yet when those 3 needs are met, happiness tends to just show up as a byproduct. This actually reminds me of a neighbor of mine. He's in his 80s, and every single morning he heads down to a small community garden plot a few blocks from his house. Nobody's paying him. Nobody assigned him this. He just grows tomatoes and peppers because he wants to. But watch his face while he's out there, and it's a completely different person. He decides what to plant. He waters everything with the kind of ease that only comes from decades of practice. And when the tomatoes come in good, he hands half of them out to his neighbors. Autonomy, competence, relatedness, all 3, right there in one small patch of dirt. He'll tell you flat out he's not gardening to be happy. He just likes doing it. But that expression on his face while he says it? That's one of the most at peace expressions I've ever seen on another human being. Which brings us to right now, to the world we're actually living in. Open any social media app and you'll find an endless stream of someone's perfect vacation photos, someone's radiant smile. Without even realizing it, we start measuring our own ordinary day against those curated highlight reels. There's an old saying that fits perfectly here: comparison is the thief of joy. And there's actual data behind it too. Back in 2018, researchers at the University of Pennsylvania ran an experiment where they had college students limit their social media use to 30 minutes a day. Within a few weeks, participants reported measurably lower loneliness and reduced feelings of depression. The more time you spend watching other people's happiness, the less time you have left to actually get absorbed in your own life. My guess is my neighbor with the tomato patch has never once scrolled through someone else's vacation photos while he still had a plant that needed watering. So let's pull this together. First, happiness is like sand. The tighter you try to grip it and monitor it, the faster it slips away. Second, no achievement, no purchase, no milestone will make you permanently happy because your mind has a thermostat that keeps resetting you back to baseline. Third, what you actually need to reach for isn't happiness as a destination. It's something to lose yourself in, a direction you chose for yourself, and people you're genuinely connected to. Get those 3 things right, and happiness tends to show up uninvited and quietly take a seat next to you. I want to go back to Viktor Frankl one more time. He found this truth in the most hopeless place imaginable, a concentration camp where he didn't know if he'd survive the day. Not by chasing happiness, but by staying absorbed in whatever small, meaningful thing was in front of him at that moment. That's what let him hold on to his life even in circumstances most of us can't fully imagine. And if he could find that in a place like that, there's no reason the rest of us, living in far kinder circumstances, can't do the same. So here's one small thing to try today. Tomorrow morning, instead of asking, "Am I happy?" try asking, "What am I going to lose myself in today?" That one small shift in the question you ask yourself can completely change how you move through your day. When's the last time you got so absorbed in something you completely lost track of time? And on the flip side, has there ever been a moment where trying to check whether you were happy actually left you feeling emptier? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes just reading that you're not the only one who's felt this way makes the day feel a little less lonely. If this one hit home for you, hit subscribe and give it a like. I'll see you in the next video with another paradox worth thinking about. Thanks for sticking around till the end.